G'day, welcome back to the Cubane series, the series where we have made Cubane from household materials via this reasonably large scheme, but yeah, it really only uses reasonably available chemicals and has all been quite reasonable. Last episode we confirmed we had made some Cubane in here via NMR analysis. This is obviously horrendous. We need to purify this. There's still a step really in our scheme that we need to do, and this is really the purification step everyone does. It's turning Cubane diacid into the methyl ester. This is done because the reaction itself, you know, is sort of a purification step, making the methyl ester really selects for, you know, the diacid. But in addition, the methyl ester is just a lot more easy to purify, at least compared to the raw diacid. You can recrystallize it. It's got a reasonable vapor pressure, even though it's a solid, so you can do things like purify it by sublimation. Some people even ran a vacuum short path distillation of the methyl ester of Cubane itself, although some people reported some explosions when they tried doing that short path distillation. So we're not going to be trying the short path distillation. Recrystallization and sublimation to purify are well within our ability to do things here in the shed. That's much better than having to do column chromatography or something, you know, actually serious. There's not a lot of material, so that's a bit of a challenge. I can't remember how much is in here, but if I had to guess, I would say it's very close to sweet fuck all. I usually don't work on a very small scale. I love to fucking put 10 grams of something in and then get 1 gram back out. But starting with 100 milligrams or so is a bit more challenging. And this is very disgusting. I mean, it's very tarry and is just a raw extract from the ethyl acetate we extracted from the solution. So I think we got to really even do a pre-purification step first. Dissolve it in a basic solution and then precipitate out with acid again, just to try and get rid of some of the organic nonsense that's in here, and then we can go on to the esterification step, because I feel like some of that organic nonsense will just plague us if we don't try and cut it out now, which is easy to say, but hopefully it all works, because we don't have much room for like redundancy and doing it multiple times. We could sit on this and say, yes, we've done it, but we've got to risk it all. We've got to risk it all, so let's do it. Alright, I'm just putting in a very minimal amount of water here. I want to dissolve this in like the minimum amount of water possible. A bit less than a mil. Shouldn't dissolve very much at all, but we'll add some sodium hydroxide. Just, once again, a very small amount of sodium hydroxide. There's like maybe 5 prils of sodium hydroxide in there. Now we can see it dissolves it pretty well. Fantastic. It's reasonably neutral, so I might put in just another couple of prils of sodium hydroxide just to ensure it's definitely basic and we're definitely dissolving as much of the diacid as we can out of there. Yeah, okay. That's really strongly basic now. It's pretty murky, pretty tarry. So I really want to run it through the centrifuge. I say that like it's the centrifuge, like it's a name I gave it. I don't think I've filmed the centrifuge before. I have a centrifuge, just really casually, you know, as you do, as one does, I have a centrifuge. Look, it's a centrifuge. I acquired this from a skip. Someone was throwing it out and they let me rescue it because it was on a shelf with other broken things and had been there for years, and so the assumption was it was broken and they were throwing it in the bin, which I guess is fair enough. You know, how could you possibly fix this? But you know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I mean, the hard part is you can't get the lid off unless it's powered up, and so they didn't want to power it up to test it, because what if it was really broken or something and it shorted out the building? So whatever, it's got my sticker on it now, so fine. We'll put our bloody tar mixture in here, and then we've got one to balance it out, and we should hopefully be able to separate any bits of tar that haven't really dissolved, because this looks pretty bloody turbid, pretty murky. Potential scunge. My scunge sense it's through the roof, you know. I've got a sense for these sort of things. I reckon there's some scunge in there. So, all right, let's do that. We'll spin it bloody fast. single drop, and I did spill a drop. That's our Cubane dicarboxylic acid as a sodium salt of Cubane dicarboxylic acid. So we're going to be adding acid, a strong mineral acid. I'm thinking probably nitric acid, because we don't have a lot of room in this container. So we need an acid that's reasonably concentrated, but has a sodium salt that's very soluble. Not that there's going to be much sodium salt in there. Anyway, that's a long thought process to say that we're just going to be using nitric acid. We could use hydrochloric acid, but there's not a lot of room here, so we'll just use a drop or two of nitric acid, why not? Yeah, well, hopefully the acid precipitates out again, and then we can centrifuge it down, and this time we can get the stuff out that we actually want. As opposed to this stuff, which is tar. Just random insoluble impurities. Get rid of that. Yeah. Always good to see the obvious things work, but fantastic. Oh yeah. And that's our Cubane diacid there. It still looks pretty bad and does look like there's still a lot of tar in it. Yeah, we didn't expect to completely clear it up with this step, but it looks like we've got rid of some stuff, maybe improved it a little bit better. It's kind of now a brown sludge rather than being a brown tar, which I think is a step up on the sort of tar scale, I guess. We will chuck this in the desiccator, get this dry. Bloody paint flaking off. I'm gonna just repaint this bench. Anyway, yes, in the desiccator, and then we can run the esterification reaction when we're back here, and this is nice and dry. All right, the product's been drying in the desiccator for the last couple of days. Oh, it might have been 2 weeks even, maybe even 3 weeks. I am very bad at keeping track of time. Anyway, it's definitely dried because we're into that Australian December weather where it's like 30 degrees every day for many hours in the day. Not sunburnt yet, but if I wait another 2 minutes, I will be sunburnt. I've got the product out, and there's not very much of it. I mean, you know this by now, but geez, that's not a lot of product. It's about 60 milligrams. One interesting thing is, in the last little while, this is our solution that the stuff didn't precipitate out of. Given it a bit more time and a little bit of focusing, yeah, we've got some actually really nice crystals coming out there, so that will be nice. Cubane as well, the Cubane dicarboxylate. We should be able to spin this down and add them to the reaction mix, because we're on to the esterification step now. We've just got to dissolve this small amount up in some methanol. The methanol is both acting as a solvent and the thing reacting with it. And we need just a little bit of acid, hardly any. We'll add some concentrated hydrochloric. I've only really got 32%. I don't have anything stronger than that. But you know, the fuming stuff is so annoying to store and make, etc., etc. So we'll need like half a drop of that, and maybe 10 mils of methanol. It's just enough so it gets a nice reflux going. And we'll set this up for reflux for a couple of hours. I'll just set up the reflux and I'll add that in later on, just so get everything going. Before we get into the montage, there's just 2 quick intrusive thoughts I want to go through. This is methanol, obviously. Really, in the whole Cubane scheme, we're trying to do everything from the hardware store. That's the whole point of the series, you know this. Methanol is not from the hardware store here. It's kind of the one exception in this whole thing. I mean, if we're ignoring how I've used ethyl acetate as a solvent, maybe this procedure could be like improved for the home chemist with ethanol, making the Cubane the ethyl ester. I don't know if that will work as well. Probably not. I got this methanol from a store that I think has since closed down, which just sold barrels of methanol, toluene, and nitromethane. Hobby car racing things. So this is the last of my methanol, and then once that's all dried up, that'll be it. I was paying $2 a litre for it. Bargain. Should have got a whole barrel, but then again, that is not so safe to have a whole barrel of methanol lying around. All right, the other intrusive thought is this condenser is stupidly big, but all my other condensers are dirty and are off getting washed up. That implies like someone else is doing it, I'm doing it, but it's just elsewhere. This is the only condenser I could find. It's so stupid. Anyway, great. let's do the goddamn chemistry now. Okay, here we are. Here's our solid. It's dried out. Look, we've got some tar. It's all good. This should be a joyous point because we've probably made the methyl ester of the Cubane. So look, we've done the series. I'm furious with myself because I've spent all of this episode so far whinging about low yields and not having very much product and whinge. The whole time, I fucking forgot I had a whole nother flask of this stuff. I mean, look, it's not heaps more, but at the end of last video, we had the stuff in the vial, plus an extra bit of stuff in this flask. And I just forgot about this flask of this stuff. Infuriating. So this is Cubane diacid. This could have done with some purification with the bloody, you know, acid-based stuff as well, but fine. Look, so we got to reflux this with the methanol as well. We've just done the step, but now we got to go back and redo it. I might combine this in with it again anyway, because I really only refluxed it for maybe 3 hours, and a lot of the papers do it overnight or 12 hours or something like that. It probably doesn't really make a difference, but look, if we're going to do the reflux anyway, we might as well add our material back in, and then we can arrive back at this point with more of our methyl ester, because we've got a little bit here, but it's just such a waste to have ignored this flask anyway. I'm only mad at myself. But I'm glad I realised now, not later, when I post a video and everyone's like, what about that other flask of the Cubane that you just completely forgot about? Alright, anyway, shit. Let's, you know, fuck it. No montage for this one. We've already seen it. Let's just go washing out the flask, blah, blah, blah. Then this other stuff. Reflux. Hell yeah. Love your work, future me. Yeah, shit. Alright, moving on with the video. Oi. Get out of there. Off. Wakey. Come on. Out of there. Out. No, out. Up. Yes, good. Thank you. Yo, how's there a spider there already? Where is he? Come on, mate. Let's get you outside. Come on. Here is our, I was going to say dried, but it's not even close to dried product. We've once again done it. It's tar. Play the text. We've done it. It's tar again. But this is what we want. It's got a lot of water in it. All the methanol has left. It's been sitting here for a couple of days, which is always a bad thing to do, but what can I do? and absolutely pissed with rain. It was pouring down out here. Not that any rain got directly in there, but I think there's something in there that's pulling in water from the air once we hit 100% humidity. So it took off some of that water, but we're just going to be adding in some more water now anyway, so there's no point driving this completely to dryness. This is a rotovap step. Obviously, you know, I don't have a rotovap, so I'm not going to waste time drying stuff out. I was blowing some argon through it to try and drive off the methanol and everything like that. And it was pretty dry, and then the water sort of absorbed into it, so I don't know what that's about. All right, now we get to extract our product, and this is a pretty clever reaction because we've gone from something that was sort of semi-water soluble and not very soluble at all in DCM to something not soluble in water at all and is very soluble in DCM. Even if we have a little bit of dicarboxylate acid left in there that didn't form the ester, we can separate it out and pull just the ester out. So we're going to just add a little bit of water in there, give it a stir, just to try and dissolve everything we don't want into that water, and then we'll add some DCM in there as well. Just give it a stir, just let our tar component, our methyl ester, get into that DCM, and then we'll just do some more extractions. So take off that DCM with a separatory funnel in the usual way. I let this stir for about an hour, and we've still got some tar undissolved, but at least we've got all the stuff off the stir bar. And yeah, definitely our DCM layer, which is the bottom layer, definitely takes on some color. It's not a good color. Some might even say that this would be yellow, but still, nothing is ever perfect, and nothing is even ever very good, but we'll settle with okay. We'll use a separatory funnel. We want to just collect the DCM. And the water doesn't have anything that we need, so we can put that aside, you know, to throw out later. I will put some more dichloromethane in there and try and dissolve all that stuff up. All right, still trying to extract this with dichloromethane. It's not really doing too much more. You can see there's really not a lot of colour in that dichloromethane, and this stuff is not dissolving very well. It just must be some tar. It looks like a lot of it, and we didn't have a lot of Cubane to start with, so it's not a good sign. I mean, yeah, if it's not easily dissolving into our DCM, then it's not the product we want. Whether it's trapped all in that tar and can't get out is a bit frustrating. So I think it's all just adhered to the bottom of the of the glass. Typical tar, just tar nonsense. That's what this whole series has been about. It's fine. God damn, I'll see if I can get something in there. Here is our methyl ester. It was always going to look like this, a yellow tar at the end. It feels very fitting. This whole series we've just been fighting tars and different yellow tars, but there we go. There is definitely some there, which is fantastic. But once again, it's still looking pretty bad. And a lot of the point of getting to methyl ester and why I wanted to get to methyl ester is it's easier to purify. I guess modern YouTubers and modern chemists will just do column chromatography. But historically, I think it's been really useful because it has a reasonable vapor pressure, so you can purify it by sublimation. And to do that, we've got this fancy device here, which I have bought. This is a cold finger. So you run cold water through there, and you have some sort of outer enclosure that you pull a vacuum on, you heat your substance below, it will form a vapor, and then, because this is kept cold, this is your cold finger, crystals will form out of the gas phase on here, and it's a really nice way of purifying things. Yes, looking at this object, it's very clear that this is a very stupid object. I bought this item specifically for this project, knowing that I probably wouldn't have that much powder, or maybe I was delusional and thought I would have heaps of product to purify, because this thing is huge for cold finger. And I guess maybe I thought it came with the outer enclosure, because like this, or you can just run water through it, but you need somewhere to put your solid and pull the vacuum on, and this item fits nothing of my glassware. Actually, no, I trolled through all my glassware and I found one flask it fits in, and this is a 2-litre flask, which I don't even have the adapter for. I got this at like an antique store the other day. Made in Australia. That's real antique shit, you know? This was like 60 bucks at an antique store, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get this. If I was like, oh, let's do the sublimation in this flask, you know? Like, shocking. Like, that's terrible. And I thought, oh, well, it's not too bad, because I've got the extension piece, which I don't think I've hardly ever used. What a random bit of glassware. But you'd expect this to go like through there, which that all makes sense, and then, oh no, it doesn't fit. Maybe it doesn't fit through the joint. You can't put that all together. Shocking. So I've been trolling through all my glassware. Like, I even found the Cubane adapter, and you think like, oh cool, this is a perfect opportunity for a Cubane adapter. You put this through and it's like, I think it's jammed again. I've been looking through all my glassware, even the bloody broken bits. Glassware graveyard, but got all this glassware, nothing fits together. So what I think is probably the best way is this bit I don't really use that much. If I cut this joint like halfway-ish, then it should be able to fit over this thing, and then I can fit it up there, and then I can fit it onto a flask. Look, it's not very convincing. I'm not very convinced myself, but if we can modify the glass so it all fit together properly, then it gives us a really good chance to do this nice sublimation, whereas otherwise it's just not going to work. So let's give that a shot. I definitely have some Cubane from Camolius, who sent it over. Chemiolus, I'm learning. Chemiolus sent over this Cubane methyl ester so we can use that in our sublimation setup once it's made. But can't make some eggs without breaking at least one fry pan, you know what I mean? Yeah. All right, and here is our complicated setup. Altogether, it looks like quite a bit. So we've got our cold finger in here. This is, I've greased all these joints. That bit sticks in there, and that bit that will be cold sticks just above the surface of the flask there. We're running some water through that. That's just green water that'll flow through there. We need to pull a vacuum on it. So I've set up this vacuum system. This is a good vacuum pump with this. It's sort of a trap. Sort of an adapter because I need valves to kind of open and close it, which would be nice, but also the yeah, and we've got a gauge on there, so that's why that bit is there. The reference we're following from the CSIRO paper from the 1997, they give values of 0.01 millimeters mercury as the pressure and 100 to 120 degrees, somewhere around there. I don't think we'll get that lower pressure with this setup because my pipe and shit are all real dodgy, so we'll probably just have to go a little hotter to get the stuff to sublime. The melting point is 160, so that's our kind of goal, is to sort of maybe just stay below melting, reasonable pressure, hopefully enough of it sublimes. What else needs to be done? I've got this big bit of ice that's got to go in here. Got this from the local bottle-o, which is just what we call a place that sells bottle of alcohol because you can't sell them in the supermarket. I had my first job at that bottle-o, which is why I generally don't like going there, because it wasn't really that pleasant of a job. I earned $50 a week, which makes me sound like a boomer, but it was only a few years ago. It's just because the guy would only schedule me for 2 hours a week. I would finish a shift and then buy like a slab of beer. Sometimes that would be more than what I'd earned that entire week. So the guy would just make a profit off me working there. Anyway, this is a $5 bag price. So we'll get the water nice and cold. We're going to be using the, oh, come on, this is one of the last times I get to say it. It's not Chemiolus. It's like Aurora Borealis, Camolius. Look, we've got a small sample of like confirmed methyl ester of the Cubane. Still not very much, so we'll put a little bit in there, a little bit at the base of the flask. Get it heating. I might just heat it with a heating mantle. Yeah, we feeling confident. Once again, a lot of moving parts, but I'm feeling confident. All right, that kind of worked. I got a few crystals on the cold finger, but we got a lot of water on the cold finger as well. I don't know how. Must have leaked a joint somewhere, whether it's this short joint that we cut into. Oh, sorry, I'm getting so sweaty. It's fucking scorching out here. Yeah, all right, let's do it. Let's send it. It wasn't a great trial run,
but feeling a little bit more confident now. I think we just got to pump the vacuum a bit more. So we should be able to pull out some crystals from the yellow here. So we're just going to dissolve this up in a little bit of dichloromethane. I'll keep some aside just in case we destroy this all. But then I'm just going to put the dichloromethane into the flask, let it evaporate, form a collection of crystals down the bottom, and that'll be good because they'll be adhered to the flask, not loose like the previous samples were, and they're kind of blowing around a little bit. But if they're stuck there, that'll be good. They'll get the heat from the flask, and then go onto the cold finger. What could possibly go wrong? Let's do it. And after all that nonsense, we're left with, about 10 milligrams of reasonably pure, from my assumptions, Cubane. You can see all this tar that's left behind that didn't want to sublime. The product did go slightly yellow. Apologies, it's in an amber vial. I'm not trying to cover up the colour, but I've just ran out of clear vials. But it's pretty nice and crystalline, a little oily. It's kind of got a smell, a bit of a petrol-y smell. I mean, I can't tell the difference between this sample and the Camellia sample. Oh, mine's definitely more yellow. But in terms of smell, it's this very similar. So that's it. I think I'll do a wrap-up video and talk about this whole series as a whole. I would love to do a Q&A as part of that. So if you have any questions, please write them in the comments, or I'll make a community post as well a bit later. But any questions you have about the series, it's been going for 3 years now. Any loose ends? I swear there must be heaps of loose ends I haven't tied up. Improvements, other suggestions or things you think I might have missed. We could go back and redo it all and get more out. But the point was we were trying to do it. And we've done it. Crazy.